Wow, that is ridiculous. You just can't enjoy that experience. You just can't. All right, you guys, I have a lot to say. The new timetable for New York to Trenton is out now for Train Sim World 4. If you're playing this on Train Sim World 3 and you're wondering, where's the timetable for the route that I paid for in this game? I don't have an answer for you because I don't know and nobody knows when it will be coming to Train Sim World 3, but like I expected, they gave it to Train Sim World 4 players first. And I can see why. It was most likely an incentive to purchase Train Sim World 4. I want to apologize in advance. I feel like the tone of this commentary throughout the video is going to be rather negative, and I am definitely going to come across as pretty bitchy at times. I feel like I'm just at my wit's end now in terms of how North American content is treated and created for this game. You know, I'm kind of used to, at this point, US content for US players constantly getting the short end of the stick compared to other content, UK, German content, for example. I'm used to corners being cut, and with the timetable, yes, a lot of work did go into it. I want to give credit where credit is due. Joe worked very hard on this timetable and making sure that our route now feels more lively and much closer to how it actually feels in real life than the original or reduced timetable made this route feel like. I'm not denying that, but there are some major performance issues with this route, and it is not just me. On the forums, on Facebook groups, other YouTube videos, a lot of other players, more particularly PC players, are having this issue of constant stuttering and freezing and hitching, whatever you want to call it. It's not so much the frame rate. I'm getting great frame rates. 45 to 60 frames per second, I would say, is my average in this game for any route. But ever since we've received this new timetable, I'm getting constant hitching and freezing and loading. And I'm just thinking to myself, there is no way that a timetable is causing this, because look at Brighton Mainline. There are a bajillion services on that, and I don't have a single issue running that route. There is some poor optimization here, and I just don't know how it can be fixed. I don't know if it will be fixed. I don't know if it can be fixed. But let's just jump into the service. I've loaded up 3821. This is from New York Penn to Trenton. Now keep in mind, before I hit get started, I have uninstalled the Long Island Railroad DLC because I thought in my head, you know what? Maybe that's causing most of the problems. A lot of traffic is coming from the Long Island Railroad services. So I have uninstalled that DLC completely. So you're not going to see any of those trains in New York Penn or any of those services coming and going from the station. And after a little bit of gameplay, even after removing that DLC, it still constantly stutters, which makes absolutely no sense. So we're just gonna dive into some gameplay here. We're gonna start this service. Look, instantly starting off and my mouse is completely frozen. There we go, now I can move. All right, we're gonna just open up the doors. We put my reverser in forward, unlock the doors. I'm gonna get my lights turned on, and I'm just gonna show you what this is all about here. The constant stuttering. Look, my frame rate is really good right now. Like, this is really good. But look at this. It's like, it gets worse as you drive. Like, I can kind of deal with it, you know, when I'm walking around at stations on platforms and stuff. But it just makes it virtually unplayable and just extremely annoying. This is the kind of game where you need it to be smooth. You know, like, I can deal with low frame rates. I cannot deal with constant stuttering and hitching while I play. The first issue here with this is, look at the platforms. They're completely empty. Not a single person walking the platforms. My train is full. Even all of the other AI trains that are sitting here at New York Penn, they're completely full as well. So before, our issue was the route is dead, the stations were alive, and now it seems like the issue has been completely flipped. The route is alive, but now the stations are dead. And this problem persists on every single platform. And it's not just at New York Penn, but also some of the other stations as well. This is like, look at this performance. This is ridiculous. And just makes absolutely no sense too. I have played other routes in Train Sim World that have just as much AI traffic, especially now that I've disabled Long Island Railroad, that have not a single issue, trust me. Like, what is going on that this is so terribly optimized? What really confuses me is the fact that on the forums, a lot of people that are playing this on Xbox Series X are not having any stuttering issues whatsoever, but this is happening for PC players specifically. But because PC and Steam players make up such a small chunk of who's purchasing and playing these games, I honestly doubt that they're going to even attempt to investigate or fix this. It's just, oh my gosh, it's just constant. I was also receiving an issue of this constant beeping that you hear on AI services as they pass you or if they're sitting in stations. The past couple of runs, I haven't had the problem, but most of the runs before that, it was pretty bad. All right, so we're gonna just head back. Oh my God, this is so bad. It's like unplayable. It is absolute shit. It really is shit. I can't even like get into my, what is this? What the fuck? I can't close the door, thank you. Now you see what I mean. It's just like so irritating. All right, we're locking our doors. We're releasing our brakes. We're taking this thing to Secaucus, and I just want you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about here as I'm moving and how often this hitching is occurring. Honestly, I felt like it ran better before I removed Long Island Railroad as a layer. And I'm pretty sure that is making up a lot of, AI services on this route. Like, look at this. You can't tell me that that's enjoyable. Like, it makes me want to turn the game off and throw my computer out of my window. Like, you can't enjoy this experience. This clearly has to be because of the timetable, because in Train Sim World 3, none of these issues occurred at all. I've been doing a lot of reading on forums. A lot of people have been telling me, what's causing this is it's shader caching. The first time you load into a route, what's gonna happen is it's gonna cache your shaders, basically, right? Okay, well, even when I load into a route for the first time, it does not act like this. Yes, it'll micro jitter every 30 seconds or so, and it's just a very small micro jitter. It's just that. Every 20 to 30 seconds, maybe every 45 seconds. And also, normally as I'm playing, I'll get a little jitter every now and then, and that is normal. That is basically your computer loading in a new chunk of the map as you're driving towards it, and I'm also pretty sure it's also unloading the chunk that you've passed. Those kinds of things are normal. Also, you can see that none of this was fixed. The clipping into the pillars, still not fixed. I will say the pantographs seem to be up on all the trains. That's a good sign, okay. ATC, still completely botched. The signaling progressions, not fixed, and honestly at this point, I don't expect them to ever be, like, look at this performance. It's like unplayable. It really is unplayable at this point. I'm actually like so shocked to say this, but I think it ran better with the Long Island Railroad services. Me disabling that DLC to try to make this run better was a bad decision. Like, I would have rather just have that on, honestly. And honestly, I can't wait for this updated timetable to come to Train Sim World 3 because I want to see if these performance issues occur in Train Sim World 3 as well. If they get that new timetable and it runs smooth as butter on PC, but then on Train Sim World 4 is running like this, then it's clearly a Train Sim World 4 issue, you know? All right, we're gonna full power this thing and get this through the tunnel. If I can even get it through the tunnel without losing my sanity, honestly. But this is a hot mess. Clearly. It's definitely improving a little bit as I make my way out of New York Penn, but still constant jittering. And I'm gonna read off my specs in case you aren't aware. I definitely don't think it's my computer. Oh my gosh, that's bad, wow. For my CPU, I'm running on an i9 9900K. It's at 3.6 gigahertz, but I have this thing overclocked at like 4.5 gigahertz. As far as RAM, I have 64 gigs. DDR4 at 3600 megahertz. So I know that should absolutely not be a problem. Gosh, it's getting worse as we get closer to the end of the tunnel. As far as graphics processing unit, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070. Only 8 gigs of video RAM. Yes, I'm aware. But reading on the forums and watching YouTube videos and seeing people post clips in Facebook groups of them running with 12 gigs of VRAM memory in their graphics cards, and even some people with 4090s with 24 gigs of VRAM still having the stuttering. Oh, it's definitely not my graphics card. And as far as storage, you'd think I was running this game in DLC on an old-fashioned hard drive. Nope, I'm running on a solid state, one of the fastest solid states at the moment. I believe it's the M.2. Wow, that is ridiculous. You just can't enjoy that experience. You just can't. Like, I don't want to play. I honestly really feel like it's an optimization issue more than anything. And it makes no sense because there are so many other timetables that are just as much going on, if not more going on, even now that I've disabled the Long Island Railroad layer, that do not run like this at all. And it can't be the route itself because the route was fine before the timetable. It's almost like the timetable's poorly optimized, but I don't know. There's that beeping. That's what I was talking about. Every single AI service that passes, you hear that beeping, and there's no way for you to turn it off. There's no way for you to stop it. If you roll up to a station and there's another service next to you, shit, I'm supposed to fucking stop. If you roll up to a station and there's another service sitting next to you on another track, on another platform, you gotta just listen to that beeping. It wasn't bad at New York Penn earlier for some reason, but now that things are up and moving, you're gonna really start hearing it. God. It's just really having a hard time. This is so bad. And it's such a shame because Joe worked so hard on this timetable. And this is nothing against Joe. This is just Dovetail Games. It just runs like shit. This is so fucking bad. Oh my God. What really sucks is when you're like trying to focus on braking correctly and you're throwing it into service, then into lap, maybe back into service just to get a little more braking effort in there, and then back into lap. It makes it so hard to do that process when it's constantly freezing and stuttering because then you put it in lap and the game didn't recognize you put it in lap because it froze or it stuttered or whatever, you know? And then you gotta move it back up and move it back into lap so that the game recognizes you did that. It's just an annoyance. And I'm trying to check here, but I think even the platforms here are empty too. Yeah, they're completely empty. There's nobody. No one's even getting off the trains. No one's getting on the trains, no one's getting off the trains, no one's on the platform. It's just, the route itself feels busier because you're seeing more trains, but now it almost doesn't feel busier in the realm that everything just is dead. The platforms are dead. It boggles my mind how this thing is running so well on Xbox Series X. I feel like consoles really aren't having a problem, and that's kind of how I know nothing's gonna change, because console makes up their main market. They're going to cater to those players first. It's just the truth. It's the sad truth, especially if you're playing on PC, you know, and you have a higher end system. It's just so poorly optimized. And in case you're wondering, I do have the DirectX 12 tag in my Steam property, so I am currently running this DirectX 12. I have tried a slew of INI changes and tweaks for memory, shader cache, all of that stuff, and nothing seems to be working. There's that beeping again. I'm not gonna make this video much longer because I've gotten my points out at this. I've gotten my complaints out at this point, and honestly, it's justified. I would have just rather them wait until October to release this and make sure it was stable and right. It just feels like it was never tested. But are we surprised? Do they even test anything? It feels like everything, especially US content, North American stuff, it's just shoveled out to us. It just really feels like sometimes there's very little care into the things that we get compared to UK content and German content, for example. Our safety systems, botched. Performance, botched. The recycling, the old Northeast Corridor route. You know, a lot of that stuff was reused for this. Could that be part of the problem with performance? Who knows? There's that beeping as that surface just passes beneath me. You end up hearing it on the Acellas as well. I don't know exactly what it's coming from or what's causing it. It sounds like a brake penalty alarm, but I'm not sure, honestly. At least we have a little bit going on over here in the yards. They did remove freight and static freight. But we've got something going on over there. At least happy about that. But dear God, everything else. I've also been having another issue, and it's working right now, thankfully, but if you haven't noticed, I've got, you know, the speed countdowns as well as the speed linear line pulled up both at the same time on the UI, because sometimes the speed limits aren't loading onto that little linear graph. Sometimes they don't pop up at all, and then I have a speed reduction coming, and I had no clue it was coming because it didn't pop up. Sometimes they pop up, sometimes they don't. It's so weird. I've been having issues with that. So we didn't get any beeping with those two AI services. That's so weird. So it's only happening on some of them. That's so strange. Wow. And also, unfortunately, New York Penn's not fixed. The platform's still clipping into the trains. I showed you the pillars. The train's going through the pillars. New York Trenton needs work. Do I think they will work on it? Probably not. They're probably just going to abandon it and move on like they do with most things. I mean, there is a little section of this route over by Metro Park where the road that's adjacent to the Northeast Corridor is literally clipping and sticking up into the air like a ramp. Like if you take a car on it, you'd be able to fly up into the air and get some airtime. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. They still didn't even bother to fix that. It's just frustrating, you know? All right, we're gonna come to this stop and we're gonna call it a video. If you guys are experiencing any other problems, or if it's running perfectly for you, let me know below. I unfortunately have not had the luck, and I know it's not my system as everything else runs perfectly fine. And I do not think it's a shader cache issue. I'm going to end this video saying that I have done full runs, I would say over a dozen now, from end to end, Penn to Trenton, Trenton to Penn. I have done full runs, a dozen at least, and this is still happening, if not getting worse. So it is not a shader cache issue. I don't want to hear that excuse. That is an excuse. That is complete BS. I believed it at first. That's not the problem. The problem is dovetail. The problem is optimization. That's it. Thanks for watching. Happy rail simming.